Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back. It is Wednesday, May 13th, and it is 9:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, we're going to get into the news tonight, although there are Q posts from today. But unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to bring those tomorrow because I could have spent another maybe hour and got everything ready, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to have more time tomorrow, and I think I'll just wait until then if it's all right with you guys, because there is some news that I want to get to, and the Q post would probably take me 2 posts. So we'll look forward to that tomorrow. I will get us up to date on the Q post tomorrow. But today I got a little bit behind because it was sunny for the first time in it seemed weeks. And I actually went out and enjoyed the sun for a bit, and I feel so much better just getting out and getting a little bit of sun. So, and the fresh air and feeding the ducks. And so, yeah, I did that when I should have been working. I did some work too, but yeah. Anyway, so I hope everyone is doing well, and there is lots of news happening. It's hard to even keep up with it all. The news is just unbelievable, and it seems like it is really happening. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over some of the news, and then what I will do is I'll make sure that I get up to date. I'll probably work after I finish this video on it and get up to date with all the Q posts so that I can bring that to you tomorrow. All right. Well, got some interesting stuff tonight. I'm telling you, real interesting. Okay, let's look at this first. I don't know if you've seen this, but you need to see this. You really do. Now, this says Apiject Systems awarded $138 million for syringes for COVID-19 vaccine. $138 million they have been awarded so that for these syringes, which will be filled with COVID-19 vaccine. Now, May 12th, and I know this is from yesterday, but it's still very pertinent. The Department of Defense announced Tuesday that it has awarded a $138 million contract to Apiject Systems America to create a ready supply chain for pre-filled syringes when a COVID-19 vaccine is available. According to the Pentagon, the contract was spearheaded by the DoD's Joint Acquisition Task Force in conjunction with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Under the contract, Apiject's subsidiary, Rapid USA Inc., will operate under the initiative Project Jumpstart to create a U.S.-based high-speed supply chain for pre-filled syringes using blow-fill seal plastics manufacturing technology, enabling the manufacture of medical-grade injection devices by October 2020. By immediately upgrading a sufficient number of existing domestic BFS facilities with installations of filling line and technical improvements, Jumpstart will enable the manufacture of more than 100 million pre-filled syringes for distribution across the United States by year-end 2020, said Pentagon spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Mike Andrews. Think about that, 100 million. There's about 330 million people in the U.S. So this is like enough for 1 in every 3 people. That's a lot of vaccines. A lot. Like a lot. And I don't know about you, but with things that I'm hearing just in the pipeline and so forth, and now Canada has partnered with China. Canada is going to be the test site for some new vaccine. And so I guess we're going to be the guinea pigs up here. I'm not taking it. I'm not taking anything like that. Not a chance. But because really, I think I'll take yes, people die from COVID. Absolutely they do. But more people survive. So I would rather take my chances with COVID than take my chances with the people that are developing the so-called vaccine. So anyway, this is kind of alarming that they've already, invested this money for this company to be able to produce by October 2020 1 million of these pre-filled syringes, medical grade. It's a lot. A lot. 1 in 3. What are they planning on doing? Are they planning on making this mandatory, which I foresee? I don't know. Are they going to say, well, yeah, you can come back to work, but you have to get a vaccine first. Sorry, we have to know that you're all right and that you're not going to infect people. Or, yeah, your children can come back to school as soon as they've had the vaccine. Is that the way it's going to go? Because I'm beginning to wonder. I'm seeing signs that it could go that way. Just saying. So, not trying to scare anyone, not trying to put out fear porn at all. Just a warning. That's it. Just a warning that we need to be alert. We need, heads up, people. I don't know what they have planned, but, the deep state doesn't have a good track record, does it? And, Canada's as deep state as you get. So's China. So, yeah, they're going to be testing it on the Canadian people. Isn't that lovely? So anyway, let me see here if there's anything more that we need to know. Initial manufacturing sites will be in Connecticut, South Carolina, and Illinois, with potential expansion to other U.S. locations. Rapid will provide increased life-saving capacity against future national health emergencies that require population-scale vaccine administration on an urgent basis, Andrew said. Let me read that again. Rapid will provide increased life-saving capability against future national health emergencies. Future national health emergencies. Is this a trial run or is this a real deal? That require population-scale vaccine administration on an urgent basis. Wow. Population scale? We know what that means. That means everybody, the whole population. That's what they want to do. They want to vaccinate the whole population. All right. Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to show you, and there's more. So let's look at this. And I think this might be, it's the same thing from a different source. AppEject awarded HHS DoD Title III Defense Production Act, DPA, contract of $138 million in support of a joint federal agency accelerated build-out of domestic surge capacity for a high-speed population, ... And let me just see if there's anything new in here for us. A lot of the same information. They want to stockpile 100 million needle hubs for AppEject pre-filled syringes. 100 million needle hubs for AppEject pre-filled syringes. Jumpstart will develop the capability to manufacture a minimum of 30 million pre-filled syringes per month once therapeutic drugs and vaccines become available. In parallel with Project Jumpstart, Rapid USA will build a network of 30 US-based VFS manufacturing, and that's exactly what we read in the last article. Geographically dispersed sites. Once operational, these 30 lines will fill, finish, and package up to 330 million pre-filled syringes per month. 330 million. Gee, What does that number remind me of? 330 million. Oh, right. That's the population of the United States. Isn't that lovely? They'll be able to get that up and running in a month. They'll be able to provide a vaccine for every man, woman, and child in the United States, legally or illegally. Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's horrifyingly interesting. But anyway, let me see if there's anything else new. And it says this press release contains forward-looking statements within the meaning of applicable securities legislation. All statements other than statements of historical fact included in these materials that addresses activities, events, or developments that Apiject expects, believes, or anticipates will or may occur in the future are forward-looking statements. The words believe, expect, may, estimates, will, anticipate, plan, intend, foresee, should, would, could, or other similar expressions are intended to identify forward-looking statements which are generally not historical in nature. Just meaning that, yeah, these are all future forward-looking. We're not there yet. We're not able to do this yet because we don't even have the vaccine yet. Although I'm suspecting that if they're about to test a vaccine in Canada, that they do have a vaccine ready. Now, how they got a vaccine ready that quickly, I would like to know, because generally vaccines take about, 2 years by the time all the rigmarole has gone through getting FDA approval and doing human testing and so forth. Yeah, so not sure how this vaccine got developed so quickly. And remember when Q said not to trust any vaccine that they come up with quickly? That's what Q said. I can't remember how long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. So let's get out of there and go on. Okay, now let's look at this. You're definitely going to want to know this. Okay. Contact tracing group funded by Soros and Gates has Chelsea Clinton on board. You don't say. What do these investigators really want? What don't they want? All right, so Partners in Health was recently selected by Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker to conduct CV contact tracing, a process that involves teams of investigators finding out who infected people have come in contact with. The group is already training and deploying hundreds of contact tracers. Some citizens fear the potential for mass surveillance posed by contact tracing, especially in light of a Democrat-introduced bill in Congress to authorize contact tracing at individuals' residences. Yeah, it's already been put through here in Canada. They can come into your residence. They can demand that you come with them. They can detain you in a quarantine facility indefinitely until they deem that you're safe. Well, what is it going to take to deem you safe? A vaccine? I don't know. So, yeah, Partners in Health's involvement will not assuage many fears, considering the group has received funding from George Soros and Bill Gates organizations and counts Chelsea Clinton on its board of trustees. That's kind of an oxymoron. Chelsea Clinton, a trustee. Yeah, oxymoron. Kind of like giant midget shrimp. Or, I don't know. Or other oxymorons that I can't think of right now. All right. So let me see here. Where did we leave off? Partners in Health lists George Soros Open Society Foundation as an official partner, along with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Partners in Health lists Open Society Foundation on its 2015 annual report as a supporter to the tune of $1 million or above, along with the Gates Foundation. Chelsea Clinton serves on Partners in Health Board of Trustees, according to its 2019 annual report. Partners in Health co-founder Paul Farmer's Achievement.org bio notes, Farmer's work attracted the support of philanthropists, including George Soros and Bill and Melinda Gates. In 2002, Partners in Health received a $13 million grant from the Global Fund for Improvements in the Kanj complex. In 2005, the William J. Clinton Foundation funded a Partners in Health AIDS program in Rwanda. Farmer and Chelsea Clinton did a Clinton Foundation podcast together in 2019. In response to a 2007 tuberculosis outbreak in Africa, NBC News reported Soros Open Society Institute announced a $3 million grant to the nonprofit organization Partners in Health and Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. The donation will be used to design a model project of community-based XDR-TB treatment in Lesotho. Once treatment guidelines are developed, experts hope the program will be adopted in other poor countries. They love to do work in poor countries, don't they? Yes, they do. Oh, they must really love poor people. No, they don't. They just think that poor people are expendable. That's all. Soros personally announced the grant and said he hoped it would spark a larger project. For this initiative, Partners in Health was cited by name in the propaganda book, The Philanthropy of George Soros, Building Open Societies. In 2011, International Women's Health Coalition noted YP Foundation founder to join Paul Farmer, George Soros at IWHC Gala. Farmer was honored at the gala, which guest of a guest noted had David Rockefeller in attendance. In 2014, Partners in Health co-founder Paul Farmer secured multi-million-dollar Soros financing for a coalition project in Africa. Farmer was featured in October 2014 video interview on Soros Open Society Foundation's website, which stated, in between trips to Liberia, Paul Farmer of Partners in Health visited Open Society's offices to discuss his work on Ebola. Paul talked about the need to ensure substantial health systems for people in nations where the virus has spread. Farmer blasted fear and conspiracy theories around fatal illnesses in the video and talked about how to attack conspiracy theories with activism. So there you go. I'm not going to go all into his background and everything, but George Soros Open Society Foundation provided $4 million to fund this project. The coalition got us a proposal the next day. They answered all our questions the day after, and we got them the funds they needed before the week was out, says Chris Stone, the organization's president. The project was appealing to Soros' team because it features a local group familiar with the turf, an entrepreneurial mentality, and the ability to scale. So, yeah, this is interesting that this is who is going to be doing the contact tracing. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't just relish the thought of anybody coming in and asking about who I've had contact with. Not that I have anything to hide, and probably none of us do. But it's not the point. It's not the point. So anyway, there you go. And they are in training. They have been hiring these contact tracers. I think they are making $57,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be. But they're making fairly, good money for what they're doing. And yeah, so there you go. And you're going to be hearing more and more and more of this contact tracing because the Democrats are really, really pushing this. Really pushing this. Remember, never let a crisis go to waste. That is their motto. So, there you go. Now, let's go back and let's look at this. Very interesting. Okay, in 2003, Stephen King series showed the drug. Now, I'm not going to say the name of this for obvious reasons because it is very highly censored, which is ridiculous if you ask me, but that's the way it is. So I'm just going to call it the drug, and this is what we're talking about right here. Okay, so 2003 Stephen King series showed the drug defeating Chinese coronavirus outbreak. Eerie, to say the very least. How do you explain that? A 2003 episode of the Stephen King created dramatic series The Dead Zone on the USA Network featured an episode about how the drug saves the day in defiance of initial CDC skepticism when a coronavirus outbreak from China emerges in the United States, necessitating the use of face masks. Perhaps Dr. Anthony Fauci should watch this episode for research purposes. Yeah. So, not sure how long this is. It's 1 minute and 45 seconds.
It acts like a virus. It causes high fever and respiratory distress. Tracking and treating a mysterious outbreak like this would take the CDC months.
We better get started then. Anyone who hasn't been exposed already needs to wear a mask.
China? Isn't that where flu viruses come from?
Yeah. A lot of viruses come from there.
International flight to China?
That's no coincidence. Whatever it is, it originated in China.
Time is not on our side.
It's like looking for a needle in a needle stack.
We have ruled out all the usual suspects: influenza, SARS, bacterial pneumonia.
How long is it going to take?
Well, it took 34 days to isolate the coronavirus that caused SARS, and that's fast.
I'm authorizing a quarantine on everyone who's come in contact with a symptomatic person.
There's got to be something I can do.
On the enzyme S viruses when they
So the chloroquine did this. So the chloroquine.
Now, I'm going to stop this because they're starting to talk about the drug, and I'll get my video taken down, possibly my channel. So I'm not going to continue playing that, but isn't that interesting? Dead Zone 2003 episode. Now, you know, they always tell us what they're going to do before they do it. And you know how, vocal Stephen King has been against our president. Fascinating that he more or less predicted this very situation, the very scenario we're in now, using the very drug that they are trying to discourage us from using. Very interesting. Very interesting. So I thought you would find that quite interesting. And let's go on. Okay, let's go back. All right, and let's look at this. Washingtonian, sorry, had a bit of a time getting that out. Breaking, DC's stay-at-home order is extended through June 8th. Are these people out of their freaking minds? You know, I've had discussions around here as well, because I say, I get upset because every place you go, you have to wait in line. You have to wait in a line because there's only one person allowed in the post office at a time. You have to wait in long lines to get into a grocery store because there's only so many people allowed in. And you have to take a cart, and you have to distance, and you have to follow the arrows on the floor, or people start yelling at you. And yes, they do. It's not the workers in the store doing the yelling, it's the customers. You're going the wrong way. I'm so over it. I'm really over it. I can't get in to see. I need to go to my doctor because I think I've torn my rotator cuff here, and I've been in excruciating pain with it. I've had it for like a month now because I can't get in to see anybody, and the hospitals won't see you. So what do? I mean, what are people doing? It's a nightmare. And so, I mean, every week that goes by, there's more shops closed up permanently. Like the storefront's all gone and the store's up for rent, because people, if you own a store, you can't afford to have it shut for that long because you owe money on all the inventory. So that's all outstanding. Plus, and you've got to keep paying for that inventory. no matter whether it's sitting there doing nothing or whether it's selling, you still have to pay for it and make payments for it. And you've got staff, which you're unable to pay, or if you are, you're paying them out of pocket. Plus, you've got the rent on the building. People can't do it. They can't do it. It's been too long. And restaurants, they're saying, well, yeah, they can come back at 25% capacity. I used to, when I was much, much younger, I started my career managing restaurants. Actually, that's the very first thing that I did. And so I know a lot about what it takes to run a restaurant and turn a profit. And I'll tell you right now, you cannot turn a profit on 25% capacity. You can't. You just can't. So most of these people, because, and especially if you have a restaurant in a city where you are paying high rent, or you bought the building outright and you're making payments on that, you can't do it. And so I don't know. These people, what are they going to do? Are they just going to stand by and let the country? I mean, there's people going hungry. People don't have enough to eat. They can't pay their rent. They can't pay their mortgages. They can't pay their car payments. What are people supposed to do? Really? So yeah, this shocked me that they're extending this through June 8th. And they keep dangling this carrot in front of us, and I'm getting tired of it, because at first it was like, well, we're just gonna close down for a couple weeks to flatten the curve. Just a couple weeks. And then it was, oh, it's working, so we don't want to open things up now because it's working. So a couple more weeks. And then, well, it's working so well now, the numbers are dropping and everything, so yeah, we've got to keep doing what we're doing. Meanwhile, the country's going to hell in a handbasket. And I'm talking the US and I'm talking Canada, because we're both in the same boat. In fact, I think it's possibly worse up here, because I don't know when they're going to open up, because Trudeau doesn't care. He doesn't care. If you go hungry, go hungry, it'll build character. Really, he doesn't care about the people of Canada. He never has. He's a little trust fund baby. So anyway, all right, I've said enough about that, but this just set me off, extending it. And of course, California is extending it, and other places. Well, all the Democrat run states, they're the ones extending it. Okay, now this is what I was talking about earlier with Canada partnering with China. Let's take a look at this. This is important. All right. Okay, what happened here? Hang on here. We'll get it. Oh, come on. Now where did it go? Sorry, trying to take a quick perusal here. Well, I'm not sure why it's not letting me look at that. Well, maybe it will now. All right, Canadian researchers are Stop. No. I'm sorry, that is Xander, and Xander is picking at, you can probably hear his little claws picking at the leather. I love him, but Xander, no, that's enough. Sorry, I should have brought my cat be gone. All right, my Acme cat be gone. Anyway, Canadian researchers are joining the effort to develop a Chinese vaccine against the deadly coronavirus, with plans to begin human trials in Canada of a potential defense against COVID-19 that employs genetic technology from the National Research Council. The trials will bring to Canadian soil AD5-nCoV, a vaccine candidate under joint development by a Chinese company and the country's military. Backed by a state that has urgently sought a vaccine of global importance, AD5-nCoV has been among the most rapidly developed of numerous candidates around the world. Now, the NRC has struck an agreement to support its development in Canada by manufacturing doses that can be administered in human tests and for emergency pandemic use. Emergency pandemic use. Aren't we in a pandemic? Also, do we trust the people that brought us the virus to develop the cure for it? I don't know about you, but I don't. Anyway, it says we are going to get to evaluate it for safety and efficacy in Canada, as is being done already in China, and Canada will now be part of the front-runner story, said Roman Zumsky, Vice President of Life Sciences for the NRC. If tests succeed, the vaccine candidate could seek Health Canada's approval for emergency use as early as this fall. This fall is not that far away. Mr. Sumsky said it is already undergoing concurrent first and second phase human trials in China. AD5 and AD5-nCoV is backed by Tianjin-based CanSino Biologics Inc. I'm sorry, first day with the new lips? I don't know. First day with the new tongue? Something like that. Anyway, and the Institute of Biotechnology of the Academy of Military Medical Sciences. It is a recombinant vaccine which uses a different type of virus, in this case, an adenovirus, genetically modified, that's right, I said genetically modified, to include a spike protein that is a signature of the deadly coronavirus. The adenovirus, it is itself modified to prevent it from replicating. What if, what it does instead is to introduce the human body to the spike protein, preparing the immune system to identify and destroy the coronavirus. CanSino and the NRC have a relationship that dates to the Chinese company's development of an Ebola vaccine, which was approved for use by Beijing in 2017. Both the Ebola vaccine and the coronavirus candidate can be manufactured with HEK293, a cell line derived from an aborted embryo in 1973, but modified by the NRC almost a decade ago to be more prolific producer of vaccines. Yeah. HEK293 serves as a living cell factory in which we could produce any number of types of vaccine products, said Lakshma Krishnan, Director General of the Human Health Therapeutic Research Center at the NRC. The Council's modification allows HEK293 to grow in large liquid-filled fermenter tanks, allowing for bulk output of a vaccine. The NRC signed a non-exclusive license for CanSino to use the cell line in 2014. As a result, the Council does not anticipate any revenue from CanSino's use of the Canadian technology to make AD5-nCoV. NRC spokesman Vance Chow said the NRC declined to answer questions about the terms of its license agreement with CanSino. The federal government has provided NRC with $44 million. Yeah, the Canadian government, $44 million. Since late March to upgrade its facilities in Montreal so they can be used to produce vaccines that are safe for human use outside clinical trials. Those upgrades are expected to be completed by the summer. By then, the clinical trials may be underway in Canada. CanSino, which declined interview requests, wonder why, is preparing to apply for Health Canada authorization to conduct human trials in partnership with the Canadian Centre for Vaccinology at Dalhousie University. The design of our study, if approved, is to move as quickly as is safely possible from phase 1 to phase 2 studies and to position ourselves to move into phase 3 studies as quickly as the data permits, said CCFV Director Scott Halpern, the principal investigator for the study. Intellectual property for the vaccine is CanSino's, and where they supply the vaccine would be their decision, he said. But the NRC's involvement in manufacturing vaccine in Canada would facilitate guaranteeing supply to Canada. In China, the first phase studies for 85 nCoV began in March, with 108 people taking 3 different doses. Those receiving the highest dose reported fever and joint pain, according to Science and Technology Daily, a state-run Chinese media outlet. In an unusual step designed to accelerate the process, CanSino began second phase testing in early April with 500 people, even though the first phase will not be completed until December 20th. Third phase could involve a far larger number of people, perhaps as many as 10,000. In Canada, the scheduling of different phases is likely to be similarly accelerated, although the first one, which is planned for Halifax, could eliminate the highest dose. It's possible Canadian third phase testing could begin by September, but that may be just aspirational, Dr. Halpern said. Yeah, and there's more, but it says Dr. Krishnan described 85 nCoV as one of the most advanced among more than 100 COVID-19 vaccine candidates worldwide, fewer than 10 of which have entered clinical trials. A vaccine that successfully completes testing is typically approved for general use after the third phase of tests. With vaccine development, there is never any guarantee of success. Safety is always a priority. Yeah, right. Mr. Sumsky said, but he said 85 nCoV is looking like a vaccine candidate that's worthy of further development. Now, I know some of you are probably saying, well, isn't that good news? Well, no. Do you trust the people that brought us this to cure it? Because I don't. Not at all. And Canada, let me tell you, is as deep state as it gets. In fact, I think that we rival you with corruption. Absolutely. Just a little bit better hidden here, but still there. Okay, well, interesting to say the very least. So let's go back because there's more. There's always more. Let's look at this. Well, that's not what I thought it was going to be. Not even close, so I'm not sure. Wonder if this was it. Blake News said the list of names who asked to unmask Flynn includes former Vice President Joe Biden, raising the immediate question of whether declassification is being used as a political weapon in the 2020 campaign. Oh my gosh. And Electric Angel 69 says, can't say that speculation wasn't coming. Same old, same old. You people just don't know when something's a bullshit, like trying to push that statement. Biden is a criminal. He shouldn't even be running. He's only doing because he thinks it will save him. Not. Well, yeah, interesting how they turn everything around like that. And that is true that the list of names to unmask Flynn, there was Joe Biden. So, yeah, but you know, the left is going to say, oh, well, they're only doing that because, you know, of the election and Trump's just terrified that he's going to lose to Biden. Yeah, Biden's ahead in the polls. If you believe that, my gosh, you'll believe anything. You really think Joe Biden's ahead in the poll? Joe Biden doesn't even know where he is half the time. And he's hanging out in some basement. I mean, give me a break. All right, let's go back. And let's look at this. Something else you may enjoy or not. Fox News, John Brennan suppressed intel saying Russia wanted Hillary Clinton to win. And why would he do that? Oh, I guess because it goes against the narrative that Russia wanted Trump to win. Right. Yeah, Russia wanted Hillary to win, and it was a rigged election, and she still lost. What does that tell you? Tells me a lot. And I bet you she's not done. I bet you she's going to run again. I bet you that Joe Biden's going to be taken out and Hillary Clinton's going to slide right in there. And if I have to listen to her flap her gums anymore, I'm going to scream. Scream, I tell you. Fox News' Ed Henry reported Tuesday evening that Acting Director of National Intelligence Richard Grenell has declassified information calling into question the conclusion that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump. Henry told Tucker Carlson on Tucker Carlson Tonight that the new information would suggest that John Brennan, who headed the Central Intelligence Agency under President Barack Obama, also had intel saying, actually, Russia wanted Hillary Clinton to win because she was a known quantity. She had been Secretary of State, and Vladimir Putin's team thought she was more malleable, while candidate Donald Trump was unpredictable. Former National Security Council Chief of Staff Fred Fleitz made similar claim in an article on Fox News, April 22nd. House Intelligence Committee staff told me that after an exhaustive investigation reviewing intelligence and interviewing intelligence officers, they found that Brennan suppressed high-quality intelligence suggesting that Putin actually wanted the more predictable and malleable Clinton to win the 2016 election. Instead, the Brennan team included low-quality intelligence that failed to meet intelligence community standards to support the political claim that Russian officials wanted Trump to win. House Intelligence Committee staff revealed. They said that the CIA analysts also objected to including that flawed, substandard information in the assessment. On Tuesday, Henry said that he had obtained independent confirmation of the claims made by Fleitz in that report. For 3 years, the received wisdom in Washington has been that 17 intelligence agencies concluded that Russia had interfered in the election to help Trump win. It then transpired that only 4 agencies had actually been involved. The State Intelligence Committee, chaired by embattled Republican Senator Richard Burr, issued a report last month that appeared to confirm the work of the intelligence agencies. However, that conclusion may soon be contradicted. President Trump has accepted the claim that Russia interfered in the election, though he does not believe Russia actually helped him win, and he has publicly cast doubt on the idea that Russia preferred him over Clinton, his Democratic rival. Breitbart News noted in 2017 the Russians may just as well have preferred Hillary Clinton, who had given Russia everything it wanted while serving as President Barack Obama's Secretary of State, from the ill-fated reset to a surrender of U.S. missile defenses in Eastern Europe to the sale of 20% of Americans' uranium reserves to a Russian company closely tied to the Russian state. This could be a bombshell, Henry told Carlson on Tuesday. Yeah, it sure could be. So, isn't that interesting? But, of course, we knew that. Those of us that have been following Q, we knew that it was the Russians actually wanted Hillary to win, not Trump. And it would make sense, wouldn't it? Because she could be bought and sold, right? Anything they wanted, they could buy it. So it only makes sense that they wanted Hillary in. But they didn't get Hillary, and neither did we, thank you, Lord. I cannot even imagine going through what we're going through with Hillary as president. My gosh, it would be awful. Okay, let's go on. This from Donald Trump. Big congressional win in California for Mike Garcia. Woohoo! Taking back a seat from the Democrats. This is the first time in many years that a California Dem seat has flipped back to a Republican. Also, Tom Tiffany beat his Democrat rival big in Wisconsin. 2 great congressional wins. That is good news, and kind of makes me wonder if they are back in control of elections. Are they? I mean, really? A Republican winning in California? That's big news. Really big news. And also Wisconsin. Big news. Okay. Now, let's go on, shall we? Washington State will force restaurants to keep customer logs to help with contact tracing. This says contract tracing, but it's not contract tracing, it's contact tracing. All right, let's look at this. The state of Washington, as part of its economic reopening plan, will require restaurants to keep detailed files of every customer that comes in, an effort to help the state track down and possibly quarantine anyone who may be suspected of having CV. As part of phase 2 of the government's staggered reopening, the state will order restaurants to create a daily log of all customers and maintain that daily log for 30 days, including telephone, email contact information, and time in. This will facilitate any contact tracing that might need to occur, the government directive states. Contact tracing is a practice of tracking and isolating anyone who has come into contact with COVID positive individuals. Now, did you take note of that? Not just tracking, but isolating anyone who's come in contact with a COVID possible individual. So if there's a person that has eaten at a certain restaurant and comes down with COVID, they're going to go back through and they're going to contact the people that were all in that restaurant, and they're going to isolate you, whether you want to be isolated or not. Now, are they going to isolate you in your own home, or are they going to take you to a government quarantine facility? I don't know. State governments across the country are in the process of developing their own specific tracing programs as they prepare to reopen their economies after weeks and months of lockdown. Washington will place numerous other strict requirements on restaurants during its second phase of reopening, including single-use menus, social distancing arrangements, 50% seating capacity in outdoor and indoor dining areas, and no more than 5 customers to a party. No restaurant may operate until they can meet and maintain all the requirements in the government's directive, the order states. Yeah, well, isn't that special? I don't know how they expect these people to make money, really. I mean, you're going to make them make all these changes and so forth, and I know it's all in the name of keeping us safe, but you know how this can get really out of hand quickly, because governors making decisions for their states may require things that maybe just aren't constitutional, but hopefully they'll be on top of that, and they will prosecute these governors who continue to trample on people's rights and freedoms. All right. Now let's go back, because there's more. Of course there's more. All right. Good stuff too, man. I don't bring you any garbage now. I'm bringing you good stuff. All right. No, I am really. I'm trying to convince myself more than I'm trying to convince you. All right. Now, this is from Deep State Exposed. Retweet more smoking gun evidence. Obama's birth certificate is a forgery, and his presidency was illegal and invalid. Well, we all know that, but we're going to see here. Hang on just 1 second here. Oh, gosh. All right.
With a separate date. It just doesn't make any sense.
Let me start this.
Create a separate layer with a separate date. It just doesn't make any sense. So we'll turn that off. Zoom out a little so you can see the whole doggone thing, because there's some interesting stuff down here. We have the certification here. The state registrar here, Alvin T. Onaya, PhD. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. What happens when we turn off this next layer down? Well, Alvin's entire certification disappears. And I wonder what we're going to see behind that certification. We're going to see white erasure of the otherwise original green herringbone pattern, which was on the blank form of the original birth certificate from 1961, I think it was. I'm having a hard time keeping my dates straight because all the dates have been altered and manipulated on this document. We'll go down to this second to last layer and turn it off. And lo and behold, the whole stinking thing has been manipulated and edited.
How do you like
Look at
that?
this. If this is not an absolute mockery of justice, if this is not an absolute snub of the nose in the American people's face, I don't know what else is. The entire document, with the exception of a couple of signatures, has been edited and manipulated, and the herringbone background has been erased out and turned white for effect. And probably so that they could slyly insert the data into this document that they found appropriate for their purposes.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? And the only person that knew about this being a forgery was murdered. I did something, well, it was a while back now, on Loretta Fuddy and the plane crash that she died in. And I did a very, very detailed look at that. I can't even remember which video it was, or I would direct you to it, because it's pretty conclusive that she was murdered. Anyway, yeah. Interesting, to say the very, very least. Okay. And let's look at this. Again, pretty interesting stuff. Here, and this is according to Zero Hedge, here are all the Chinese propaganda centers currently operating in the U.S. Dozens of Chinese propaganda centers still operate across the United States, even as U.S. lawmakers debate how to hold the communist country accountable for withholding information about CV, which originated in, well, we know where it originated. I'm trying to not talk about this too much for obvious reasons. For years, Campus Reform has reported on the number of Confucius Institutes on U.S. college campuses funded by the communist regime. These centers are marketed as Chinese language and culture centers. However, U.S. intelligence officials have warned that these centers are little more than propaganda arms of the Communist Party. And look where they all are. Great concentration on the East Coast. Greater on the East Coast than the West Coast, believe it or not. Yeah, even the former Chinese propaganda minister, Liu Yushan, wrote in a 2010 article for Chinese state media, with regards to key issues that influence our sovereignty and safety, we should actively carry out international propaganda battles against issuers such as Tibet, Xinjiang, Taiwan, human rights, and Falun Gong. We should do well in establishing and operating overseas cultural centers and Confucius Institutes, Politico reported in 2018. While China and the U.S. disagree on most things, this appears to be one area in which officials from both countries share opinions. FBI Director Chris Wray said during a 2018 congressional hearing, when asked about Confucius Institutes on college campuses, the level of naivety on part of the academic sector about this creates its own issues. They're exploiting the very open research and development environment that we have, which we all revere, but they're taking advantage of it. CIA reports obtained by the Washington Free Beacon further revealed the Chinese Communist Party provides strings-attached funding to academic institutions and think tanks to deter research that casts it in a negative light. It has used this tactic to reward pro-China viewpoints and coerce Western academic publications and conferences to self-censor, the CCP often denies visas to academics who criticize the regime, encouraging many China scholars to preemptively self-censor so they can maintain access to the country on which their research depends. While legislation signed into law by President Donald Trump in 2018 resulted in about a dozen U.S. colleges shuttering Confucius Institutes on campus, those closures were largely the result of their loss of funding rather than concerns for the country's national security. And now, nearly 2 years after that legislation became law, more than 75 Confucius Institutes are still in operation in the U.S., most of them on college campuses. From Maine to Florida to Kansas to California, these centers claim to educate American students about Chinese language and culture, and administrators who run the campuses on which they operate appear to believe the same country that claims to have fewer CV deaths than the U.S., despite its population being more than 3 times the size of the U.S. population. Based on data from the National Association of Scholars, along with records maintained by Campus Reform, the interactive map above shows the locations where Confucius Institutes still operate. Hover your cursor over each dot to reveal the name of each college or school that currently hosts one of these centers. And I guess University of Southern Maine, Bryant University, State University of New York, State University of New York Albany, Binghamton University, State University of New York, Buffalo, East Central Ohio Educational Service Center. Look at all these just clustered up here. Really clustered. West Virginia University, University of Kentucky, Simpson County Schools, Middle Tennessee University, Alabama A&M, University of Memphis, University of Central Arkansas, Xavier University of Louisiana. What's this? Cypress Bay High School, Savannah State University, Wesleyan College. Wow. Georgia State University, Presbyterian College. I'm not going to go through all these, but I just saw Charlotte in there somewhere. University of North Carolina, Charlotte. So, yeah. How do you think? How do you feel about that? This is the first time I'd heard about it. I don't think it's a good thing. But what do I know? Okay, now let's go back because there's more. Since I'm not bringing you the Q posts, I figure I might as well make this good. All right, Donald Trump Jr. is replying to Brian York, who said, "You're not going to believe this, but it appears Adam Schiff knew all along that he couldn't prove collusion." In December 2017, he told CNN that collusion was a fact. The Russians offered help. Okay, now unfortunately, I can't read all this. But anyway, this person is letting us know that it appears that Adam Schiff knew all along he couldn't prove collusion. Donald Trump Jr., Adam Schiff was willing to lie flagrantly to the American people for years and will likely be rewarded for it come November. There will be no reckoning or accountability for him because our system and our media protects these kinds of bad actors. Well, I hope he's wrong about that because Adam Schiff needs to go. Big time. And he needs to be held responsible, not just for everything he's done while he's, been a public servant, but also the things, his extracurricular activities, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. Let's go on. And this from Charlie Kirk. Breaking. The DNI has released a list of U.S. officials involved in the unmasking of General Michael Flynn. The last name on the list? Vice President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden. He claims he didn't know anything about the Flynn entrapment. This is a bombshell, and it is, because he lied. If he lied about this, he could be lying about Tara Reade. Now, I know, we all know he's lying. Yes, but we have to be able to convince other people that he's lying. And this will certainly do it because it's pretty cut and dried. He said he didn't know anything about it, didn't know anything about the Flynn entrapment. Well, he did. He absolutely did. Yeah. And this from Undercover Huber. Obama's chief of staff, James Comey, Joe Biden, Clapper, Brennan, and more identified as principals requesting General Flynn unmasking. Well, isn't that special? Mighty special. Says CBS News obtains Richard Grenell notification to Congress, declassified unmasking list Flynn between late 2016 and January 2017. Read 3 pages provided by the NSA here, and we're not going to do that because I don't have the link. But anyway, yeah. So James Comey, Joe Biden, Clapper, Brennan, and more identified as principals requesting General Flynn's unmasking. That shouldn't surprise anybody, I don't think. And this from Michael Koch. Koch? I'm not sure how you pronounce that last name. 26 red states open. 26 red states open. 24 blue states closed. And the left calls Donald Trump a dictator. Yeah, let that sink in. It's the blue states that are closed and the red states are opening. All right. Well, that is it for tonight. And I do have some people to thank. So I'm going to do that. Coffee, the following people donated via coffee, and Anon, Jennifer Larson, Flat23. Now that's an interesting, what do you call that? Moniker. Jenny in Tennessee, and Carolyn Rose. That's a pretty name, Carolyn Rose. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. You all contributed via coffee, and it helps. It absolutely helps us to keep going because we are not monetized, as you all know. And I got the most interesting snail mail today. I got a package from Journey and Ron. They live in Hiawassee, Georgia, rather. And they have a business, and you can go out there and shop the business. It's Rapha, RAPHA, rub.shop. Here it is right here. Let me make this a little bit bigger so that you guys can see it, because what they did was they sent me just sampling, well, pretty generous sampling of their products, which are all cannabis based, not THC, but cannabis based. And I did actually try the rub today. I tried one of the things of the rub on my shoulder, which has been absolutely so unbelievably painful, and it really helped. And so then I put some on my back, and my gosh, I'm sitting here so comfortably doing this. So it does work. Like, I'm so thankful. Thank you guys so much for sending me that stuff. I really appreciate it. So if you are somebody that deals with chronic pain, you might want to check it out. RaphaRub.shop. So anyway, they are listeners, and thank you so much for sending me that stuff, because relief of pain is like the best gift ever, really. So thank you so much, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you all. Thank you. I love reading your comments, and we just have such a nice group here. And even as the channel has been growing, we still have a good group. We don't have a lot of strife and whatever every now and then, but it's very rare, to tell you the truth. Everyone's kind of nice to each other and pray for one another, and I like it. I like it, and it makes me want to do this, you know, because I look at people's comments and how they're enjoying it and how they're relating to other listeners. And it just makes me feel good about what I'm doing and, you know, about who's listening. So I think I have awesome, awesome listeners. And I wish, I mean, I truly, truly wish I could meet you all. I think that we'd all have a wonderful time. I really do. I think we'd all get along. Just from the comments that you leave and everything, I think, my gosh, some of these people, I just know I could be close friends with. But thank you guys for everything you do and how much you inspire me. And you do inspire me. So you guys have a great night. I'm going to be back tomorrow, and I'm going to get the Q post ready for you tomorrow so that we can get caught up to date with that. Not sure if I'll have time for any other video because I think the Q post will take up my time. But who knows? If I do have time to do some news, I will do it because that's the fun stuff to me, is doing the news and finding some of this stuff is interesting. So anyway, you guys have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth. All right. Good night, guys.